Well, 16 days of activism for no violence against women and children may be over, but the fear that women live with remains. The South African Cities Network is calling for urban planning that prioritises women's safety, from ablution blocks that consider a woman with a child to safer parks, taxi ranks and transport. They say that women's safety is not taken into account in town planning, and that puts more women at risk. Nontando Ngamlana is a South African Cities Network board member. She joins us now via Skype. Nontando, thank you so much for joining us. Good evening to you. Practically, what makes cities unsafe for women?
Well, thank you for having me, and good evening to the viewers. We argue that the current models of town planning and infrastructure development aren't gender sensitive, and that there are simpler infrastructure and service delivery needs that could be addressed through just resource allocation, prioritization of certain infrastructure over others, using available resources wisely in ways that respond to women's safety and violence against women and girls that happens outside of the home.
Well, can you give us some examples of what that might be?
So things like street lights, right, where high mast lights are located, the sideways, for example, bushy areas, bushy street corners, things like technology, for example, where people are able to very easily say, I have been marked, or I've seen this in this particular street or in this particular corner, and rapid response occurs as a response or as a result of that. And so we basically are saying that technology allows for it, but even beyond just technology, our planning in itself could be gender sensitive.
You also point to the example of Spain. What has Spain done that we could implement here?
So Spain has made the city center quite women-friendly. And so they've closed, and this is the 30-year journey they've been on. They've closed certain streets and they've made them pedestrian streets. They've created little play parks in the middle of the city center. They've just made it very child-friendly, very women-friendly. They've created restaurants and all sorts of things that are easily accessible and are child-friendly and are just at the city center in ways that respond to women's needs, right? That think about a woman and a woman that's in town with their little babies and the needs of this woman. So they've taken that into account. And you see throughout Spain, even in the public transportation system, in their education system, in where the public amenities are located, that they mainstreamed gender and gender sensitivity to their planning in meaningful ways.
Do women have a seat at the table in these discussions to make these changes?
For the longest time, they didn't. It's only until recently that we're beginning to see now a big move and agency of younger women who are centering these conversations, right, and are questioning town planning and how town planning happens. They're questioning even the curriculum in town planning schools, and they are questioning resource allocation policy. And so only recently I was seeing now a greater move of younger women that are saying we're not only going to fight it through the justice system, but even in the manner that the infrastructure, and we develop the infrastructure in our cities, has to respond to women's safety needs and women's service delivery needs. So it's only recent that we're seeing a great move. And obviously, I mean, institutions like the Cities Network that continue to hold and center and foreground the conversation are needed at a time like this.
Nontando, thank you for raising this issue. It's an important one. Women, certainly need to feel safe in our cities. Nontando Ngamlana, the South African Cities Network Board Member. Well, let's take a look at what's happening in the world of business now.